Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for May 11th, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, I would ask that you please do subscribe if you are not already. It really does help support my channel. And please also, and this applies to every single one of you, please watch the whole video. You'd be surprised how much it really does help me grow my channel. So please consider subscribing and watching the whole video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about the severe weather threat that's going to be moving through the south central and in through the plains and eventually moving closer to the Midwest. And this could potentially be a dangerous severe threat and a potential severe weather outbreak. All right, so highlighting our areas of severe weather today, there's actually a threat of severe weather across coastal New England, from Long Island all the way up through Boston, and even through parts of southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont. That does include parts of eastern New York as well. There is a marginal risk of severe weather today. That region could possibly have some wind, okay, and maybe a little bit of hail too, but the primary zone, or the zone we'll be focusing on, is sort of the south central and then moving through the center part of the country. So we actually do have a slight threat of severe weather, and that for like Lubbock, Odessa, Clovis, New Mexico, Hobbs, New Mexico, and Plainview, Texas, some highly more populated areas that are in that slight zone that have a greater risk of severe weather for today. And again, it's going to be New Mexico and Texas. Now, tornado risk is only going to be 2% as of now, okay? But as you know, we could still have many tornadoes. We could still have many tornadoes. All right, I mean, even though the probability is low, we can still have a lot of tornadoes, even if it's just several small tornadoes. And the wind probabilities, again, low to medium, all right, in this zone right here, Texas through Texas and New Mexico, all right, western Texas, eastern New Mexico region right there, and even just a little bit of Oklahoma in that wind zone. And hail is pretty much identical looking. The 15% zone is slightly shrunken, but overall, it's that region of western Texas, eastern Oklahoma for today, and that's where we're going to have our greatest chance of seeing severe weather. Wind, hail, possible tornadoes, and some heavy rainfall as well. Day 2, okay, this is tomorrow. The threat does go down a little bit more. We'll be running through the models and what they're thinking as well as the NOAA Storm Prediction Center. But we do have 2 possible areas, some more marginal areas, again, in Texas, those darker green regions. And no tornado threat, pockets of wind. All right, wherever you saw those marginal regions, that's where you're going to have your 5% wind threat, as well as this tornado threat. Okay, wind and tornado look exactly the same. So it's going to be a lower threat tomorrow. Again, it's going to be moving through central and eastern Texas this time, with a couple little pockets to watch. All right, including Austin, Texas, Waco, Killeen, Round Rock, and College Station. Some more populated areas in that marginal risk for tomorrow. But look at day 3. Remember, this is day 3. So like today's Monday, so you got Tuesday. This is like Wednesday. All right, and this is far out. This can still change, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do add an enhanced risk to this region. Right now, the slight risk does go from northern Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, all the way up through Missouri and Iowa. And that's where we do have a slight risk. It's more expanded though this time. It's much more widespread. And tomorrow, it's in the center of the country, so we're looking at about an estimated about 13 million or so people in that severe weather threat. About 13.4 million people under the risk of severe weather. So basically 13.4 million people under that, either that dark green or yellow shading. All right, the light green shading, they don't count into that. That's just the area that we could potentially see thunderstorms. And looking at the excessive rainfall, what is the probability that we can see heavy rainfall, excessive rainfall? And for today, that threat is going to be, again, Texas and eastern Mexico, that west central part of Texas, in that marginal threat of excessive rainfall. But again, it is still possible All right, and day 2 moves up towards the north. Normally, and especially in this case, so the area of severe weather tomorrow, we saw those 2 little patches here in Texas. The rain threat is a little bit farther to the north. We usually see that's what happens. The excessive rainfall threat is usually farther to the north than the severe weather threat is, and that is the case. So we're talking about from northern Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way up even through south central Missouri. So that will be the excessive rainfall threat for tomorrow. And then for Wednesday, the threat moves up towards the upper Midwest and close to the Great Lakes, just outside of Chicago and Green Bay. And that's where the excessive rainfall threat will be for Wednesday. All right, let's take a look at the modeling now. We're going to go through the GFS, Euro, and even down towards the NAM model. We'll be hitting NAM model as well. Here's a simulated radar. Again, thunderstorm cells are going to be popping. They could be potentially, potentially strong at times. And this is another overnight event. Those of you in eastern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, even west Arkansas, you guys are lucky that it's coming in the morning. That will have a little bit of daylight. So we know that nighttime tornadoes are over 2.5 times more deadly. All right, but even so, we still gotta even look towards the afternoon. We have another strong cell down there towards Texas that's still holding on. And matter of fact, it does sprout quite a bit. Moving through eastern Texas here. Again at 8 p.m. So still light, and then overnight, the threat will start dying down, and it will start moving up towards the north, as you saw in the day 3 outlook from the SPC. Looking at this surface-based CAPE here, all right, from the GFS model, you can see we do have about 1,400 joules per kilogram, so there's some decent amounts up there in West Texas, and because of those higher CAPE amounts in West Texas, that's why the Storm Prediction Center said, hey, let's put the higher severe weather risk there, because there's going to be more atmospheric heat in this region in western Texas, as opposed to central eastern Texas. They will get the leftovers from the storms that do move through West Texas, eastern Mexico, and moving through, continue to move through central and eastern Texas. All right, let's look at the surface-based, or actually the bulk shear, surface to all the way up to 500 millibars. And you can see that there isn't much shear, and that's why the tornado threat is low. But again, just like the Storm Prediction Center pointed out in our outlook, where you do see the most shear is going to be up towards eastern Mexico and even parts of the Texas Panhandle. All right, the jet stream or the strongest winds are well to the north, which is why for all 3 of these days, the severe weather risk, or at least the tornado risk, might be slightly lower, but we still cannot rule out ever the threat of potential tornadoes. All right, let's take a look at the supercell composites here, kind of look at the numbers, and look at this. At 8 p.m. tonight on Monday, there's a high threat of supercells right there for western Texas. We're talking about a 16 out of a 50. All right, and this isn't necessarily a percentage. Sometimes I look at it like that, but I mean 16 out of 50, that is at least 25% chance of seeing some significant supercells. And even that in that blue shading, and as well as the yellow and orange shading, that's where we had that greatest threat of supercells arising tonight at 8 p.m. Then it kind of just disappears. Those supercell threats do disappear until tomorrow, where the GFS model puts another threat of supercells in this region as well. So something we're definitely going to have to watch today into tomorrow. All right, and then by Wednesday, the threat does sort of move up towards the north, as you can see, for parts of Kansas right there. All right, let's look at the winds, because part of getting a tornado is having those winds that turn with height. And what I want you to kind of focus on is the red and the blue lines. Not necessarily the black one, because that's a little bit irrelevant. We're going to be looking at the red and the blue lines. So notice as we head towards tonight, and you can see the surface-based CAPE is mixed in there as well. Or, yeah, surface-based CAPE. All right. Take a look, and this is why the threat for tornadoes will be minimized. The winds from the surface are coming from the southeast sort of direction. But here's the thing, though. The winds from 5,000 feet are coming from the exact same direction. So there's no turning with the winds with height. That's not until you get to 500 millibar, which is coming from the west in every possible location you can pretty much see on here. It's coming from the west. So, but when we look at the winds turning with height, we really don't see that from the surface up to 5,000 feet. And that doesn't really happen until you get behind the storms. And yes, maybe the winds are a little bit, more turning with height, but that's when the storms have already passed through, so it's kind of irrelevant by then anyway. So those turning of winds with height is something that we look for when you're determining a possible tornado spin up. When you look at tomorrow at 8 p.m., now it's more likely. You got the winds from the southeast at the surface, sort of the south-southwest at 5,000 feet. There's your your rotation area right there in central Texas, and we also have a lot of surface-based CAPE as well. Almost 2,400 joules per kilogram, which is a decent amount. And when we look at the European model, the precipitation, all right, the kind of simulated radar, all right, North Texas into southern Oklahoma, we do have some possible pop-up thunderstorm cells. That's simulated radar. Let's take a look at the actual radar. All right, and let's take a look at that actual radar, and we zoom in here, north parts of Texas. We did have a heavy cell that is moving through Plainview that just sparked up. There's also one near Leveland right here. They just saw pop up in these two locations. Majority of the thunderstorm activity, however, right now is over New Mexico. Okay, because that upper level low is kind of providing that energy. And that's where we have most of our thunderstorm activities right now. And as the storms move farther from that upper level low, they tend to weaken a little bit. But we do still have some rain and thunderstorms moving through North Texas, through the Texas Panhandle. And also, take a look at this. We have a lot of thunderstorm activity here, moving through Kansas, through Missouri, through Arkansas. And it's all moving in a direction like this, kind of like the way the jet stream is kind of dipping down. Those storms are moving along that jet stream flow towards the south and east. Because the jet stream, all right, you can kind of see it's dipped down this way, bringing that cold air into anywhere north of it, like all the way up there into the northeast, where actually past couple nights the temperatures in my region here have been like down near 30 degrees. So in May, which is like over 20 degrees below average. So the jet stream winds are coming down like this. Jet stream goes up like that usually, but not in. I mean, obviously I need to zoom out a little bit to show you, but the point is the storms are moving northwest to southeast along that jet stream. All right, so that's the latest radar loop. And continuing with the European model here. So thunderstorms and the threat kind of lifts off to the north as we head into our Wednesday. All right, and let's look at the bulk shear now for the European model. Sadly, this is really the only severe weather tool that the European provides on here. All right. However, you can still see that the wind shear, all right, is up here. And I think this is where we're going to have our biggest threat according to the European model. Texas Panhandle as well as parts of south central Oklahoma. That's where we can see our highest threat for severe weather tonight. Not much shear to contend with tomorrow night. Not much shear pops up with the European model, and the threat moves up to the north as we head into Wednesday. Hopefully, I will continue to give more updates as we get closer to Wednesday on the severe weather threat. But what I do want to show you in the European model in place of the other severe weather maps, since they really don't provide, is the atmospheric dynamics, that really atmospheric energy that those storms need to fire off of. Okay, the actual dynamics of the storms. Check out tomorrow morning across the panhandle of Texas. We have some stronger atmospheric dynamics, but even before that, anywhere in the red regions, we do have some significant cyclonic vortices, and you'll see this a lot when when we get to hurricane season. I'll start tracking hurricanes, except they'll be in a more this will be in a more circular motion. Obviously, it'll be in a more circle form, the cyclonic vorticities, when you look at the hurricanes. But with the severe weather, though, kind of forms like a nice band there, some intense atmospheric energy possible. All right, let's take a look at the NAM model now. All right, NAM model gets really high def with this. This is why I like it. All right, and you see there's a band of severe weather that moves through Texas Panhandle, eventually dropping into central and southern Texas. Here, might not make it to southern Texas, depending on the jet stream and how it influences the track of those thunderstorms. Even a little band there as we head towards Tuesday night. But I'm trying to focus here for now. The threat here moving through tonight, and we could still have some intense thunderstorms. All right, let's take a look at that mixed layer cape. You can see what usually happens is a lot of the cape is forced off to the south, right? And the thunderstorms will sort of be moving through like this. So if the thunderstorms manage to lose some of that cape energy that they need to fuel them, they might not get as strong. And the NAM model was sort of hinting at that. They're keeping all the joules per kilogram, all that energy. The energy that's being forced to the south, the energy, all right, is separated from the thunderstorm, and therefore the thunderstorm tracks this way, and it may not potentially get as strong, it may not survive. So that's something we look at in terms of tracking the severe weather. Again, joules per kilogram, about 2,300. So not bad heat, but problem is it's just the ingredients don't quite come together. Even though the ingredients are somewhat impressive, they're not quite coming together in the right place at the right time. All right, let's take a look at that bulk shear. All right, the NAM model does put a decent amount of shear up here for North Texas as well as Oklahoma, and that's where they do track those thunderstorms on through. So when we talk about the rotating of winds with height, or even the changing of speed of winds with height, two different kinds of shear, speed shear and directional shear, we do have that potentially through North Texas and South Central Oklahoma. All right, let's take a look at the supercell composites. We do have the threat for supercells even down to Mexico, as well as New Mexico, parts of Texas there. Some threats of supercells are rising. All right, and take a look at this. Even through 11 a.m. Tuesday, there's another other area, north central Texas, some potential supercells firing up. But again, that will be for Tuesday, tomorrow. And look at this sweet little band here of potential supercells. So possibly a derecho, who knows? Could be a potential derecho, possibly. Significant tornado parameters, and as you may or may not know, these derechos, okay, what they do is they usually last for 250 miles. Okay, that's what we've seen with these previous severe weather outbreaks. Significant tornado parameters obviously are going to be lower. You most likely have a better chance of seeing a supercell than you do a significant tornado, which is why the parameter for this will be a little bit lower. But still, 1.5. Oops, sorry about that. But still, 1.5 here for a significant tornado parameter out of potential 10. That is still a lot, right? That is at least a 15% chance of a significant tornado. Not just any tornado, but this is the significant tornado parameter. So the threat of a weaker tornado is probably much higher than this. All right, and we'll also watch through Tuesday as a potential cluster moves through Texas, Oklahoma, and then kind of a banding feature that the NAM model projects. All right, wrapping it up here, looking at the surface-based CAPE. All right, and the wind crossovers, again, kind of looking at the wind crossovers, again, 5,000 feet surface winds kind of coming out of the same direction. All right, so we're going to have to watch here, but still, I think tomorrow, potentially, with the surface winds going like this, 5,000 feet winds like this, I think we'll have a better turning of winds with height during the day tomorrow. So tomorrow will also be something to watch, and then Wednesday, that threat really grows and expands farther to the north. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you have not already, please watch my 5th hurricane video located right there in the top right corner of your screen. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe as well as like my videos and share them. And please also stay tuned for my 6th hurricane outlook that will be releasing most likely on the 13th of May. Thank you guys for watching. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time. Catch you guys next video.